Hi everyone, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to another video. Today I have a fun one with you. This is shadow stenciling, but the easy way. So I have done another video on shadow stenciling. However, what I did was I did some embossed resist. Now, that's great, but sometimes we don't always have the time for that. This is definitely one of those times where I am running really short on time. So I found an easier way to do this technique. Now you are going to need a stencil and some cardstock for this technique, but also pigment inks work the best for this. The reason pigment inks work the best is because they sit on top of the paper and on top of each other. So that means they're not going to bleed together and blend together whenever you put them over each other. So I'm using VersaFine Clear inks here today, and I'm using a gray, which is the Morning Mist, and then the Monarch, which is a nice purple. I'm also using this small dots stencil from the Crafter's Workshop, and I'm lining it up on a piece of cardstock that measures 4¼ by 5½ inches. So an A2 size panel, I like to start with that, and then I can cut down or I can die cut as I want to. To hold my stencil in place, I am using some painter's tape, but this is like a really gentle painter's tape. I will leave it linked down in the description box below. It is wonderful, especially if you do a lot of die cutting and you use painter's tape to hold it in place. So I went ahead and lined up that stencil and taped it down on all 4 sides so I know it's not going to move. And I'm starting off with my gray ink and just pushing it through that stencil. This is the easy part. Just get it through the stencil. That's all you need to do. You can use whatever tool you want to. I'm using a large jumbo sponge dauber here to put my ink through. Then once I have that in place and I'm happy with the ink and the way it looks, I'm going to remove that stencil. Then I want to replace it down. I'm not going to do any cleaning of it or anything like that. You can if you want to. I'm going to leave mine on because I know these two colors really won't mix that much, and if they do, it won't show up since the purple is so much darker than the gray. And then I'll go ahead and just position it down where it's slightly to the right and slightly down a bit from where I previously put it. And here's a closer look at that. You can see my dots. I've just placed them right over the original dot and then moved it to the right and down a little bit. This is going to give a nice shadow effect. So once I have that placed down, I just secure the tape again, and then I start sponging through that purple ink. Again, use whatever colors you want. Just make sure that your color that's going to go on top is a little bit darker than the one you put underneath. And I am using, again, the jumbo sponge dauber and just sponging that ink through. Now, at first, it's not going to look like much, but once you remove the stencil, you'll have this gorgeous shadow stencil look, and it is so fun. Now, this one with the dots really reminds me of something you would see like in a comic book, so I think this would be really fun for more of a boy theme, maybe comic card. But you can do this with any stencil that you have. It doesn't have to be the one I used here. So try it with any stencil you have on hand, even really intricate ones. This would be a really gorgeous technique. And I love techniques like this where you probably already have the supplies on hand. You can just play around with what you already have on hand, see if you like it, see if you can do it, and then go from there. Now to finish this card, I'm keeping it pretty simple. I'm using a Paper Smooches die set that I've had for a very long time. I'm not even sure if it's available anymore, but I love this large cupcake die. It kind of fills up the entire card and it's all you need. So I am die cutting the top of that cupcake along with the little candle from some white cardstock. Then I'm going to die cut the bottom of the cupcake along with the little flame, and I'm die cutting the bottom from Craft, the flame from yellow, and finally I'm die cutting that candle again from some purple cardstock. Now that purple matches the ink I used, so it's all going to kind of pull it together. Now the reason I cut 2 of those candles is to make it a striped candle. I'll show you this very quickly. I'm just going to take that purple die cut and just chop it into 3 sections. I'll only use the top and the bottom and just glue those down onto the white candle itself using some liquid adhesive. This is going to give me a really easy striped look to my candle, and it makes it just a little bit more fun. You could also do some polka dots if you wanted to. You could do vertical stripes, you could do some wavy lines, you could do some zigzags if you have some of those fun funky scissors. Really is the limit with little dies like this. Now I went ahead and attached that to the top of the cupcake, the white part, and then I also put the little flame up there. Now, like I said, this is pretty easy to assemble this card. All I did was take that top of the candle and the top of my cupcake and glue it down onto the craft piece of cardstock that is the bottom of the cupcake. And I used some dry adhesive so I wouldn't have to wait for it to dry, some tape adhesive that's very sticky. I popped that up with some dimensional adhesive onto my little panel that I had the stenciling on, and then I'm using just a layer of foam adhesive again to pop up my little top of my candle so it looks like it's lit up. And that's pretty much the card. The only thing that was left to do was I did stamp a very, very simple happy birthday sentiment on the bottom of my cupcake with some VersaFine Clair and Nocturne ink. And then I also went ahead and cut down that panel just slightly. I used an A2 size panel to do my stenciling, but I like to start out with A2 size so I can always cut it down or die cut it later on. I cut about 1/8 of an inch off from each side and then mounted that onto an A2 side folding card base. And that finished the card. I hope you guys enjoyed a look at this technique, just doing it another way. If you are interested in any of the products I use, those will be listed and linked down in the description box below. Thanks for watching. I hope you all are healthy and safe. Happy crafting, everyone.